All right, so welcome to Module 2. This module is all about creating your product or rapid product creation, what I call RPC. And it's all about how you can create your product super fast. So here's what we're going to discover in this module. Talk a little bit about outlining your program from the survey data that you collected in Module 1, structuring your program, how to make your program valuable, what technology to use, and the specifics of all the tools, how much to create before you start selling, and we're going to start selling in Module 3, speed of delivery, bonuses that you need to or can include in your program, and then wrap it up with some action items that you'll do right after you watch this training. So, a couple of mental mindset shifts or philosophies we want to keep in mind. And these might be reminders, but they're super important that you keep these in mind as you're going through and coming up with ideas for your program. So the first one is we want to keep this a version 1.0 program. What that means is no fancy business, right? We want to create the most value in the fastest possible time and get it out to market. So we don't want anything holding you back from creating value from others and from others using that value to make their lives better. What that means is no fancy graphics, no fancy presentations that take a lot of time but really don't have any added value. Those things can always be added later. So keep your information very lean, right? Get the information across and get it in the hands of customers so that you can get feedback. And a good rule to kind of keep in mind here is that you want to spend 80% of your time selling and 20% of your time in product creation. Even better would be spend 90% of your time selling and 10% of your time in product creation. What most people do is they spend 80% of their time or 100% of their time in product creation and 0 or 10% of their time in selling. And then they wonder, why aren't they getting the results? Why aren't they making the type of money that they like? So don't do that. Follow the program. In Module 3, we're going to get into exactly how you can go about selling everything. But for now, let's talk about outlining your program from the survey data. So the steps we want to follow are collect, understand, chunk, categorize, sequence, and I'll give you some outlining tools here. So let's start with collect. We want to take the data that we've gotten from the survey responses, and we want to put in a text file or import it or export it from FormStack into an Excel file, and take all the questions that people asked and put them together in a separate text file. So somebody asked you, for instance, if you're in dating and somebody asks you, how do you get in a relationship, or how do I get over a breakup? You want to take all those questions and put them in a text file. And so that will give you an idea in terms of what are the things that people really want. And you want to think, what is their ideal outcome, right? After they go through your program, what is the ideal outcome that they would like to have in their life? And a good hint is they're going to be related to one of 3: health, wealth, and relationships. You want to see if you can identify their big pain, the thing that they're really, really painful for them, that your program is going to be, or your coaching, whatever it is that your service is going to help them alleviate that pain. So think of your product or service as a pill. They take the pill and they get better, right? It's like a magic wand. Now, of course, it's not a magic wand, but in the beginning here, you want to think of it as a magic wand, and then we'll step it back to see if we can make it true, right? So you want to think, what is the results that they really want? So you want to collect all that data. So the next step is that you want to understand In every good product, information product, there's one core need that the product solves, right? You don't want to solve all core needs because that's just too big of a thing to do. And there might be a lot of needs that your prospects have, but there's always going to be one main one that keeps coming back over and over and over again. A good example of this is in the men's dating niche. Approaching girls, what to say when you approach is a common thing. So that could be a product. How to create your online dating profile, that could be a product. So there's always many needs, but there's one core one, and you really want to spend a lot of time looking for that. And people will tell you, from the survey data and from the phone calls you'll make, you'll be able to identify it. So market validation, we don't want to build something that people do not want, right? And we want to identify the exact product that they're desperate to buy from you. And we want to check in with them and see if that's right? If we're on the right track or if we're on the wrong track, either way. And we want to do that fast. So that's understand. So let's talk about chunking. So once you go through the questions, you want to start grouping together the questions into common areas that would later fall into categorizing them. So you want to think of like, what are the foundational elements? So again, for men's dating, it would be, you need to approach, you need to have something to say. And then there's, go on your first date. If it's fitness, it'd be, food, diet, exercises. If the product was just food, we could talk about what kind of foods not to eat, what kind of foods to eat, groceries, what makes something healthy. So you just want to categorize it and or chunk it down. And then we want to put it into categories. Okay, so we want to understand the questions, chunk them into groups that are related, now start to create some categories for them. And then next step is we want to sequence them, which means we want to put them in a logical order. Like, what would be the steps from A to Z? What has to come first? What has to come next? And then what? And then what? So think of it as like you're baking a cake. You need to get eggs. You need to get, I don't know, I've never baked a cake, but you get eggs and you mix it with some powder. And at the end, boom, there's a finished cake, but there's a recipe to it. So your product should be that magical recipe. So here's some outlining tools. You notice that I'm using a mind map for this presentation, and I recommend you do the same. It's probably the easiest way to lay out your ideas. You could use PowerPoint or Keynote, but what I found is that takes some time to format it and outline it, and just adds additional time. So it's totally up to you. I recommend you use a mind map or a presentation software like Keynote, and we'll get into some of those. So some of the tools I recommend for mind mapping, mindmeister.com. It allows you, I think, up to 3 or 4 mind maps for free. The one I'm using here is called FreeMind. There's also MindJet Manager. If you want to go low tech, you could just get a whiteboard, just a simple whiteboard from Walmart. It doesn't have to be big. You could just get even a small one for like $10 and start outlining your product that way. Another one is 8x5 index cards with a Sharpie. So you could write down at the top your main category, and then on the lined field some of the questions that people submitted, and put those up on a corkboard and start organizing them. That's another way to outline. Okay, so let's talk about structuring your program. So the format of your program is important. One of the 2 choices that you have, at least, is live or recorded. The advantages of live is that it gives you instant credibility and authority. The gotcha with it is that you have to perform, right? You have to know your material inside out, and you have to, if you mess up, you just have to keep rolling with it. But there's really a lot of advantages to doing it live, and here's some of the other ones. It makes you a visible expert. You demonstrate that you know your stuff, and you record a live performance. You can answer questions on the fly. There's a high level of interaction and relationship because you have people getting on a call or on a GoToWebinar account or a conference bridge line. And probably the best example of this is if you could equate it to, let's say, a rap CD versus a freestyle rap. So somebody who can get on a microphone and just freestyle their rap, I guess you can call them a real rapper, right? Because somebody else might have had that rap produced and edited, but somebody who does it freestyle, that makes it real. So if you could do it live, that makes it real for your prospects and future customers. So it's a little bit of demonstrating social proof there. The other thing is event-based. So you give them a taste of what it's like to work with you. And people love events and they make time for them. So if you just give someone a recording, they might not make time for it. But if you make an event, well, now there's a reason for them to, put it on their calendar and to show up. And some of the other advantages is that you get to attract new people with each kind of event or recording, right? So you get to spread your message with each, call it, event recording that you do. So live webinars, you could use something like GoToWebinar.com. You can record it. You can make a live webinar every week. And in the next module, we're going to talk about how you can start selling it. So doing it live has a lot of advantages, creating your modules live. You could also do Q&A at the end, and you could take that, questions and answers and make that into a separate part of your product. So you actually get to record your product and you get to do your Q&A in one shot, which is a pretty good deal. So that's live. Recorded, you could do it at your own pace. You could do it anytime. You could edit it down. If you mess up, you can start over. Whereas live, not so much. You just have to keep going. So those are your options in terms of format, live or recorded. So let's look at different modalities. So people learn in different ways, right? And you want to create your products or services in different formats because it makes them much more valuable. So for instance, you could use audio, so that's an MP3. You could use a video for the visual learners. And for people who like to read, you can have a transcription or an ebook. The easiest way to do this would be to create a video, then extract the audio, and have someone make a transcription of it. So if you make the video presentation, it makes doing all the other ones much easier. And that's how I'm going to be doing it here. So you see the presentation, the audio is going to be ripped out of it and be standalone. And then there's going to be a transcription of it. So that's what I recommend you do as well. And a mind map so people can follow along with the presentation. Making your program valuable. The main idea here is that sometimes we don't know what to do and we need help in knowing what to do. Other times we know what to do, but we're still not doing it. The reason why we're not doing it is because we need some accountability. We need somebody to hold us accountable. And if you think about your own life, this is something that you probably experienced, right? If you've ever worked out with a personal trainer, or you worked out in a group, or you had somebody show you how to do something, and even when you were in school, right? So there's accountability, there's grades. So accountability is something that's very important and that most people really lack in their life because nobody's holding them to a higher standard. So if you can put that and build that into your program, you'll find that your program becomes more valuable. Like I said, example with the personal trainer, if you work out by yourself, not that valuable. You work out with a personal trainer, boom, value. Doing weekly Q&A is a great way of adding value because you get to interact with people. People get to be heard. They get to express their challenges. And other people can hear their challenges as well, so you could answer them. You could do challenges with people. Group challenges are awesome. Interaction with other members that are going through the same challenges is really good. People don't want to feel like they're all alone doing this by themselves. And then also coaching, working with people in groups or one-on-one, and offering them even a higher level of accountability and results. So let's talk about technology. This is something that a lot of people get very confused about or overwhelmed, and it doesn't have to be that way. So a couple of different ways. You could do a video, right? You could do a screen recording. You could do it live. So if you want to do a camera where you just shoot yourself and talk on video, you want to have an HD camera, obviously. Ironically enough, the most important part of great video is great audio. So making sure that not only is your video looking good, but your audio has to be on par. And the way you could do that is just get a simple lavalier microphone. If you really want to get advanced, you can get a 3-point lighting set and like a white or gray background for your videos. But for now, you can just keep it simple. What I'm using here is screen recording software. And if you're on a Mac, you can get ScreenFlow, screenflow.com, or Camtasia. So both of those programs are awesome, allow you to record the screen and make edits. Keynote for presentations if you want to go that way. And PowerPoint is available on the Mac or PC. Okay, so let's talk about some different ways that you could do it live if you want to go that route. So there's free and there's paid ways. If you want to go with actually, these are free and these are paid. So you can see that I just rearranged these, and that's an advantage of using a mind map versus a Keynote. In Keynote, you'd have to stop the presentation and completely get out of the full presentation mode and go in and edit. But here you could just make it really simple. And this is why I recommend you do a mind map. So getting back to the material here, so if you want to do a free, you could do a Google Hangout. Those are absolutely free. You could use freeconferencecall.com for a free bridge line. And I think they allow you to record it automatically too. If you want to go the paid route, go to Meeting and go to Webinar. They have trials, I think maybe $50 a month or something like that. They have different programs. You can go on their websites and check it out. Main thing is that you want to always record everything. In everything you're doing, you want to create content for your prospects, for your customers to give away. So always see and think about, how can I use this as a product or some kind of content that I can give away? Also, if you do go to Meeting or go to Webinar, there's people that specialize in just recording all that stuff for you and editing it. You could hire those people. They're not expensive, and it frees up a lot of your time too. So let's talk about how much to create before you start selling. This is a common question. So again, you want to create what's known as a MVP. And MVP stands for minimal viable product, right? The least amount of work on your end such that there's value for others, that they see the value and want to pay you for it, and it's worth it to them. It's a win-win. So What I recommend you do is create 1 or 2 modules before pre-selling. The reason why is if you start selling it, and let's say it's a 6-week program or an 8-week program, you're going to have to create the modules and you're going to have to sell it. So it might be a little too much for you to take on. So I recommend you create 2 modules. That way, if you fall behind a little bit, you already created the second one. So you can just sell people the first one, and then whatever the sequence is, if it's once a week or module or however you lay it out, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, but you have the next one already ready. So you want to start delivering content to founding members and improve as you go, right? You don't want to finish the product and then start selling it. No. You want to get your first 1 or 2 modules and then get into selling mode, which we're going to talk about in module 3. So if you create 2, you'll have some time to keep selling, right? That's the goal. And you want to start selling, and the benefit here is that you'll get your first validation of your product idea. So it will really motivate you to keep producing because you keep thinking, oh, okay, I've got sales now, right? So it's just very different when you've got sales and you're creating content versus just creating content and not knowing, hey, is this stuff actually going to work? So let's talk about speed of delivery. A couple of different options. You could drip feed, which is just paced consumption, right? So bite-sized pieces in what I call JIT, or just-in-time learning, right? So this course is designed in that way, right? I'm not giving you everything at once because that would be incredibly overwhelming and it'd be hard to take action. You might be tempted to go through all the modules and then think, I'm going to start taking action once I go through all of them, which is not an efficient way of doing it, right? You want to go through one, take action, get results, then go to the next step. So that would be drip feeding. Some examples of this is, let's say, a 6-week program and new modules are released every 3 days. An 8-week program, so that's new module every week for 2 months. If you do a 12-week program, that'd be a new module every week for 3 months. And you could do a year-long program where it's like every month they get a new module, and there might be a subset of that released every week. The other way is not drip feed, and that would be instant. So they get everything now. But like I said, the problem with that, or the challenge with it, is you're going to run into information overload for your prospects or customers. And you don't want that. You want them to take action. You want them to get results. So you want to give them everything they need in bite-sized pieces is what I recommend. There's some cases where it might be just beneficial to give them everything. But in most cases, when people are buying courses or coaching, they're looking for step-by-step, right? You're looking for step-by-step by going through this program. So just think about that. Ultimately, what you want is what's best for the customer, right? What's best for them. All right, so let's talk about bonuses. You want to surprise and delight people, right? So you want to offer them things that weren't included in your sales letter, which you'll have later, or your conversation, your selling conversation. So you want them to log in and be surprised, like, oh, wow, there's also this, or there's like an interview with an expert, or some special downloads, or extra case studies on how other people got results, right? So that's something you want to think about including in your program, because it really reduces refunds because people are surprised and delighted. It's also a great way that you can make joint venture partnerships, because you can give away these bonuses to their members for free, and maybe they can give some of their bonuses to your people for free. So it just creates win-win partnerships with joint venture partners. You could also promote on other people's sales letters or other people's videos on the back end. Once somebody buys another product, you can give this away for free to their members, and that could lead into them coming into your program. But for bonuses, you want to keep this last. Just something to keep in mind here. All right, so let's talk about action items. So your action items for this module is you want to create your outline for your course and outline all the questions from the survey and go through the process that I described here. You could re-listen to it if you didn't catch it the first time, but you want to collect the information, collect the questions, chunk them into related kind of pieces or chunks, then categorize them and then sequence them. So put them in order, what comes first, what comes next, so that you have step-by-step from A to Z for your customers. Then you want to decide on the speed of the delivery, right? How are you going to be giving these modules or delivering this information to them? Decide if you're going to do live or recorded. And decide on the format. Are you going to create, PDFs? Are you going to create videos, audios? Like I said, I recommend videos because you could create all the other formats from that video. Create your first 2 sections or your first 2 modules so that you can go out and start selling. And that we're going to cover that in the next module. And keep getting new founding members, right? Keep getting new leads using the strategies in module 1. So those are your action items, and do that. Start doing that right now, and I'll see you and talk to you in module 3. Talk soon.